Now we are on our create a map, and so what we're doing is configuring what we want the interface to look like. So we have the data collection, we want to kind of configure what it's going to look like as we start to put data onto our map. So right here we have all the different layers. We created our place layer, our path layer, and our area layer. And we're going to rename that, chop off some of this excess stuff. I'm going to click OK. So this is just a lot of cleaning up work, but I will say that if your end result isn't working, it's probably one of these steps. So we first rename everything. Now we're going to save it. And so it's good to always save it early and often. We're going to save it as East Rock Park, New Haven, CT, and then a tag East Rock. Okay. You can always describe it later. You can always go back and clean that up. So right now we need to start cleaning it up. So we can have different layers of base maps if we choose. So let's see what this looks like. So we have this. I don't like that as much because it's really hard to see the map part. So let's create maybe National Geographic. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I kind of like that. Now we're going to go into putting in all the different things that we have there, all of the different points. So we're going to have to go into each one of these. So we first go into our places and we go to choose attribute. So right now we're only going to get a dot on each location. We want to actually know what each type of amenity is. And so we can actually get much more information based on that. So we're going to go to, we can also just leave this as default, but I want to show you a few different options that are a bit more user-friendly, because who knows what a red dot looks like. So let's go to options and we can start to see all these different ones. And as you get data, it'll start to count these things up for you. So we can actually click the dot itself and start to change what the emoji looks like. And so this is actually, I find, the most annoying part, is trying to find the right emoji for what you want. So this, I did this before, and I'm just kind of clicking through it relatively quickly, just to try and make it not as slow as it actually took me. And so Jungle Gym, I'm going to do a point of interest as well. And there isn't really a good emoji for Jungle Gym, but you kind of have to pick what you have. Main entries. I'm just going to pick arrows and just have it as this interesting arrow. And for this, it's really helpful to just make it big because the small ones are really hard to see. For picnic table, I'm going to have it under points of interest. And there are a lot of different aspects that you can use. So there is actually a little emoji for picnic table, restroom as well. That's in general infrastructure. And pick, there's multiple different types for each type of thing you want as well. And then water fountain, I found a decent one under government. And so the more specific you can make your little emoji, the more user-friendly and useful your point can be. I am going to just highlight this other. So we'll just have a little stick pin as an other. I did make it too small, so I have to go back in there and make it bigger. Okay. All right, so we can also make it transparent. Change the visibility as I've covered in previous videos, and we'll click OK, and then done. So we also want to do this with our other paths. So we'll click here, and we do want to show our paths. And then right now we have all these different types of path and different colors. So I'm just going to pick some colors, and I like a relatively thick line, so we're going to go with 5. You can pick different patterns. I find the certain default lines don't show up as well. So it's best just to play around with it. So we're going to make them all 5. In width, sidewalk, Sure, let's stay with that color. And then a trail will be nice dark orange. Okay, there we go. Good. All right, same options. We're just gonna go with this. And then areas, come down here, show our areas. And then we can change our options here. So we have a barbecue area and a grassy area. Grassy area should, I think, certainly be greenish. So let's do that. And we can make it more transparent if we want. Given if we're going to overlay some areas, we'll make it a little bit transparent. Then barbecue area, let's see. Yeah, we'll make it orange. Okay. All right, so these are our current options, and this is an important point, that if you're having trouble with things showing up, this might be the reason. So you go to edit, you go to manage, and then right here it says save changes. And so I believe this is how the data collection app relates to it. So if this is not saved for each of your points, that may be the issue. So we're going to save these for each individual aspect. And we're good. Save the map. And that's pretty much it. Okay. And so this is what our current map looks like. We have all of these different features that we can now place onto it. We're going to go back to content. And so we can click on our map again. Well, this is actually just a field layer, but we now need to share it. So this is the more important thing, to share it with members in your organization or specific groups. And so I certainly encourage you to share it with me and with the organization. You may not want to share it with everyone yet, but up to you. So click save. Important point to make is that we just saved our East Rock field layer, our feature layer, which is going to collect all of the information. We also need to save and share our web map. And so this is the one that's going to, all of the users are going to be able to interact with. So we have to share both of them. All right, and then we'll share them the same way. And click save. And then now we can go back to content. And so you can kind of see here, shared with my organization and shared with individual groups within that. And now we can actually go to the collector app and interact with it. What we can do now is actually go to our mobile device and find our application. And so we're going to use the data ArcGIS application collector. And so you can find it by going to, for me, I have an Android, so I'm going to go to the Play Store. Maybe this will show up, Google Play, and then just type in ArcGIS collector, if I can type correctly. So I typed it in earlier, it'll show up, and you can download that app right there. It's free. I have it on my machine, and so I type in collector. And what it's going to do is it's going to make you sign in under your current login. And so here I'm signed in under Workspace Family. So what you have available to you are the maps that you've created or the maps that have been shared with you. And so both of these Workspace login did create, and they're also shared. So I can get both of these. So now if I go to East Rock Park, New Haven, I click on that. Tells me the GPS accuracy required and that my phone is not exceptionally great at it. But we have this. So this is showing you where I currently am in New Haven. And you can actually start to create new data points by clicking the plus button. And so what we have here is we have different aspects that come up. And so all the different parts of places, the types of paths that we have, and the barbecue areas that we have. And so I am not actually currently in East Rock Park, but it is very close to where I am. So I'm going to take you to East Rock Park, which is right here, and you can move it or you can use your location to set the spot. So because I know the area, I know that this is a main entryway. So we're going to put a main entry here. So I'm going to tap that and it puts it here. What also comes up is that I can take a photo. I can attach a photo. I can write different notes. So I'm going to go, this is the entryway off of Orange Street. Orange Street. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to update this point. And then I'm going to pick up here, which is this little button to submit my point. And so now this point is officially on my mapping. I know that this is also a point here, and so I'm going to click another point. So I'm going to scroll because I am not at here. So here's a nice entry point. So main entries. I don't have anything else to say about this, so I'm just going to say update point, and then click the submit button up here. And it is submitting my point. And so I can go back, I can come back in, and so right now it is relatively focused on where I am. I'm going to highlight it, and you can see that my points are right there. Hi, so now we've created the application, gone out and collected field data, and we are back to look at the data that we have. And so I'm in my feature layer in the content, and so this is the first one that we set up. As you can see, we can actually start to look at all the different data in it that's now, and so going to data, clicking on data, we can see now that it actually has data points in it. And so if you kind of refer back to what it looked like before, none of these data points were there, and so all of these little drop-down menus now have data in each file. Okay, so how do we actually share this? We could go back to our general content and look in the map that we had to create so that we could use it with collector. So we could share this. One point in doing that though is if you want to share it with anyone outside of Workspace or even within Workspace, when you share it, usually the data can be editable. And so sometimes we don't want anyone messing with the data. We just want to show them what's actually been found. And so one way around that, you can click back in your feature layer, and we can actually create a view layer. So a layer that's only references the data, and so it doesn't actually allow anyone to change it or to kind of play with it. But you can then share it with someone else and not have any negative issues with kind of having them mess with your data. So I'm just going to call this view and say OK. It's going to create a whole new layer. There we are, and it's throwing me back on my content page, which I'll take a look at. So basically it kind of creates a copy. And so now we can create a whole new web map by going into our layer. And we can make an interactive map out of this. And so we can share it. We'll share it with everyone, and specifically this, just so everyone can see it. Click Save, and then now go into Map Viewer and just add a new map with full editing control, because this is the layer, it's not actually the data itself. They can kind of pick and choose the data they want to show. Okay, so now we have our map. We can zoom in as much as we want. So I'm going to create a quick interactive map just so we can show the data. Nope, wrong way. So this is basically what East Rock Park looks like with all of the different amenities in it. And we can create different names. I'm going to do this really quickly. So configure the different pop-ups. So right now if you look at this, our pop-ups are relatively kind of a lot of information in it. I want to clean it up a little bit. So I don't really need a pop-up title. I'm happy with what's actually shown. I don't really care if it's shown when last edited. And so all of these look pretty good. I'm going to come in and do that with all of them. So we don't need a title. We don't need when it's last edited. And the last with the areas as well. So the last thing I'm going to do, it's going to be a kind of a quick map. Take out all of these extra names. And I'm relatively happy with how that looks, and I'm going to save it. Title, East Rock, input data, amenities. So maybe not the most interesting title, but that'll do. Okay, so now we can actually go and share it and create an interactive map. And so I'm going to share it with everyone. Yes. And then we can then put it on a website if we so chose. I'm going to do the basic viewer map, create the web app. Try and do this relatively quickly. It's not the prettiest when you do it quickly, but it gets the job done sometimes. So come down here, put for the screen reader, data collected using ArcGIS collector app from East Rock Park, New Haven, CT. Okay, so we have all of this. I'm just going to change the colors slightly. Let's go for a dark panel background. I'm relatively happy with all of that. Options, I want the measure tool. I want the display locator button. We'll get the scale bar on the map. And I believe that's all I want. I don't really care about the print tool. Okay. And then we'll launch our app. And then this is our last interactive app, which you can then send to people and do all that. The last thing I want to show you though is I did take one picture, and so there is a picture within the basketball court, and so if you click on this, it will show you the picture that's associated with that data point. So you could now share this with anyone you wanted, and as long as the viewer layer and map are correctly shared, you have created an interactive data collection app, gone out and collected data, and then created a map to visualize that data, which is a really great accomplishment.